Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson-Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games, here today to take a look at Blood Bowl by Games Workshop. Now, Blood Bowl is a game which has been around for a long time. I think it's been around since the 1980s, if I'm not mistaken. It's been through many incarnations, and it kind of got left behind by Games Workshop for a number of years. They kind of forgot about it, but stayed alive due to the humongous fan base that this game has. There's a whole website dedicated to organized play of Blood Bowl all over the world. There's even a World Cup of Blood Bowl that is held in Europe every 4 years, as would a World Cup be. It's a game with enormous support from the fans and everything, so much so that Games Workshop eventually clued into this and caught back on, and has since released this edition and one edition since. So this is not the newest cover. The newest cover looks more like this. I bought the rule book for the new one. So the newest rule book would, the newest box would have this, but this edition I had has everything I needed in it. I just needed to update it with the rules. So let me just, before I get too far into anything, let me just take you to the report card and tell you what I think of this game. So look at the number of players for Blood Bowl. I'm going to give it a B+. I give it the B+ not because of the number of players that play one game, because at its heart it is a two-player game. I'm giving it the B+ because it's not just going to stop at the 2 players. To be done properly, like if you're going to be doing this with the intention of doing it as an activity which is going to be in like if I'm thinking in school settings, it would be best done as a league. Where Blood Bowl really shines is in league play. The advancement of the players, the management of the team as time goes on, all these things start to come into it and really make a more interesting experience out of it. So you are going to, while you will only have 2 players playing at one time, you are going to be looking to have like a league of people playing. So it really encourages to get a whole group together, and that creates a sense of like this camaraderie and the people who are part of that club and everything. So to get right down to it, yes, it is just a 2-player game, so normally I would be giving it like a C or something for that, but the fact that it's, like I say, encourages the league play is why I up it up into the B+, because that's what it needs at its heart. So the fact that it's going to be including so many people in the league is what elevates it in my eyes for the number of players score. For learning, I'm going to give the game an A. Blood Bowl is one of these games which is the kind of game that I always talk about when I say that games helped me with my mathematics. This is exactly the kind of game that does that, because one thing I like doing when playing Blood Bowl is just making teams and saying, what kind of team builds can I do? And you start to play with the numbers. You start to look at the team positions that you can, who can you hire for your team, adding it all together, seeing what you have, subtracting from the amount you have left. If I've got this much left, maybe I'll add this. I'll take 7 linemen at 50,000 piece is 350,000. So you're just playing with the numbers all the time, and it's that kind of thing that helped me to develop my mental math fluency, because just that practice that I needed, but I wasn't doing otherwise, because in doing it like flashcards or worksheets or whatever I was given was just boring, and I refused to do them or wouldn't do them, or just didn't, it just wasn't working for me. What helped me was doing games like this, where it was like I was encouraged to do things in a more fun way that was mathematical, like I was building the teams. But even through the advancement of the team, as the team grows and develops as you play games, you have to track the money that your team is earning, what you're spending to hire new players, to your skill points, and just all kinds of different things are coming into play here for how the mathematics is involved through the play of the game. Even probability, as you're making plays and thinking about, okay, what are my chances of doing this, and problem solving through the game to see, taking the best course of action, and what is the highest reward versus lowest risk. There's a lot of problem solving, critical thinking that happens in the game. Plus which, I mean, there's just so much lore in the book. There's so much history of Blood Bowl. There's the rules that you read. I mean, this is a pretty thick book for a rule book, but it's not all rules. It's also, like I say, there's stories and fun facts in there and things like that about the game that just encourages a lot of reading. So just between the reading, the math, the critical thinking, the problem solving, there's just a huge amount of learning that goes on in this game, and that's why I give it the A. For fun, I'm going to give the game an A+. I have been playing Blood Bowl on and off for almost like 20 years now. I mean, a long time. I have always had a real love for this game. It's a lot of fun. Plus which, just the people I have met, just generally speaking, the people who I have met who play Blood Bowl tend to just be really great people. I mean, I've met a whole community of people in Ontario and Quebec through the play of Blood Bowl in the tournament scene, and there's a very active and very fun tournament scene. If you want to check that out, you can email me for some information. I can show you where to go for that. But there's the tournament scene in Blood Bowl for Ontario and Quebec is just amazing, and if you are at all interested in maybe doing some road trips and playing the game, and just absolutely, I would highly recommend it. Now, would I recommend? Yeah, this is it obviously isn't the kind of thing that you're going to be doing with a group of students. So getting back to the school thing, it still can build a great group of people with the right influence and everything in a club setting in a school, and that's where I think this game is going to shine. Is if you can convince your principal and get some kids going on this. I think this would do very well in a school setting. For time, I'm going to give the game a C, because the games do run about 2 hours. Now, there is a variant of the game called Blood Bowl 7s, and that's supposed to be it is much quicker. It's a much quicker game. You play with less players. It's a different configuration of the pitch. The pitch is more narrow, and when I first read about it, when it was first introduced, they said it was more for like trying to play a game of Blood Bowl in a lunch hour. So it can feasibly done in under an hour. Now, Blood Bowl, like I say, 2 hours, it could probably be squeezed down to even an hour and a half if you use timers, once people are more familiar with the things. Just really encourage that speed of the play. Don't get too much of the analysis paralysis trying to overthink your plays. And I said then in BB7s, Blood Bowl 7s, where you play with only 7 players on the pitch as opposed to the full 11, would be an alternative way to play too if you're looking for a faster mode. But whether you're choosing to do Blood Bowl 7s during the day, Blood Bowl 7s, or full Blood Bowl after school, or maybe a mixture of both, however you choose to do it, I think that it's time well invested, and I think the students are going to get a lot out of it. For cost, I'm going to give the game a C+. I give it a C+ because Games Workshop is really well known for the quality of their miniatures, but also not being necessarily the cheapest. The newest version of the Blood Bowl box is about $150. Now, in that, you get a board, you get all the templates and everything you need, you get the dice, plus you get 2 teams of miniatures, plus the hardcover rulebook. So you have enough there for 2 players to get started in the game. So with the 1 board. Now, the nice thing about Blood Bowl, as opposed to other Games Workshop games like Warhammer 40,000, where when you're building an army, there is really no upper ceiling in terms of how big your army can be. In Blood Bowl, every single team is limited or capped to 16 players. You cannot have more than 16 players on your team at any time. So that really means then once you have 16 models for your team, that's it. You can't have any more. So there's always that. I mean, there's always things you can buy. They're selling other things like, nicer boards. They're selling more boards. They're selling other teams. They're selling star players and things. There's other things you could be adding to it, but there is, keeping it limited to the things that you have and things. It is, as far as Games Workshop goes, less expensive than some of their other things. Now, in terms of cost for if you're going to be running this as a club, like, how would you do that? I would think that you would probably, unless you have a lot of spare miniatures lying around, like I might be able to do that because I have a lot of older miniatures I've been collecting for a long time, so things I might be able to just sort of lend to the program. Alternatively, what I would do as well is talk to Games Workshop, because I know that they were quite generous when I talked to them before about supplying materials for a Warhammer club. So giving some miniatures, some books, and things like that to get the kids started. They might do something like that if you want to run a Blood Bowl club too. It would certainly be worth asking, talking to them about it. Maybe even a local game store, see if they would give you a break on it, and just that way too, that they know that if any of the kids are interested, they're going to be getting the kids coming to them, and you can talk to them, say, okay, well, these were supplied by this particular store, and so if you are going to buy things, go there, and maybe he'll offer them a better discount too, to make it again more worth, so he or she knows that they will be getting the business of those students coming to them as as they become interested in the game. So it's sort of win-win all around. So I wouldn't necessarily think about trying to supply and outfit the whole club all by yourself, because depending on the number of players, that could be like exorbitantly expensive. Rather, like I would say, see what you can do about getting some miniatures and things to represent the pieces you need. Talk to Games Workshop and see what other deals you can work. But overall, it is going to be a little bit costly. But again, great game, could be worth it. All right, let me take you to the table, and I'll give you a very brief idea of how the game is played. So this is the Blood Bowl board set up for a match, and these are the miniatures that came with the previous edition. Like I said, I had the previous one. The new one comes with a set of, these are regular orcs versus humans. The new one comes with black orcs, who are bigger, stronger versions of the orcs, versus the human nobility. They're a different team that you can play. They're a little bit different from the humans. So the human nobility team will be in the new set too. It's going to come with all the dice that you need. There's a special template for passing the ball, a special template for when the ball scatters. It's hard to see on here. Let's see if I can get a focus on there. So you can see that there's numbers on there. So you put this down at one point in the game, and so maybe you say that one is facing up away from you. So that way when the ball, you roll an 8-sided dice and it shows which direction the ball bounces. It's for bouncing the ball. This is for when the ball is thrown in from the crowd. If the ball goes into the sidelines, then the crowd throws it back in. It shows, on 1 to 2 it goes that way, 3 to 4 goes that way, 5 to 6 goes that way. And you also get these dugouts. I think the newer dugouts are smaller than these ones, but this shows like for your score, there's 2 halves. Each half is 8 turns, and then you can get team rerolls, which allow you to reroll dice if you don't like the results. So in the game, what you're doing is you're trying to get the ball. So one team is kicking the ball off to the other team. You have to pick up the ball and run it down the thing. It's kind of like rugby in the way that there's not sort of downs and then set up again and go for the next down. It's a free-flowing mashup. I mean, so as soon as one team has the ball's kicked off, it's in play, and until one team scores a touchdown, it just keeps going until one team scores, or until 8 turns have passed, in which case the half ends. If both halves have ended, then it's the game over, and whoever has the most touchdowns wins. To play Blood Bowl, what you're doing is you're rolling these set of 6-sided dice and these special dice here, which are called the blocking dice. The blocking dice have different symbols like push. That means you're pushed and knocked down unless you have the dodge skill. Push, that is the person who is attacking, the attacker is knocked down. That is the defender is knocked down, and that is both people are knocked down. So when you are rolling an attack, so if this orc is attacking this human here, if they are equal strength, then you're only rolling 1 dice and you take the result. So I roll the dice and I get the defender is down. So in this case, the defender is pushed back 1 down. You then roll the 2 6-sided dice to see if you break their person's armor. So a 5, the humans have an armor of 8, so you have to roll a 9 or higher. You have to beat the armor score, so it's a 9+ for the human armor. So that is not enough. If we had beaten the armor, so say this was a 6 and a 3, this Blood Bowl symbol is the 6. It's the opposite side of the 1, so that's the 6. So say it had beaten the armor, then you'd roll again for the injury, and a 7 would mean that they're stunned. So they are going to be spending their next turn just rolling over. They can't get up, so you have a break from them for a turn or so. You're rolling dice, the 6-sided dice as well, to do things like dodging. So if you want to move through somebody's tackle zone, so if this orc is here and wants to come here to here, once they've entered a tackle zone, so tackle zones are the spaces all around a player. So moving into them is fine. Moving out of a tackle zone is where you have to then roll to dodge. And if you fail your dodge roll, then you're knocked down and you roll for armor as normal. There's rules for passing the ball. And there's all kinds of, as you get more into the game, there's a lot of skills involved that can affect how you either pick up the ball, how you pass the ball, how you hit another player, all kinds of different things, and that's where it gets really complex. So I'm not going to go into that. Like I said, I just want to give you a quick sense of the game and how it's played. So that's if anybody's interested and wants to know more, I can put in some links to some videos which show you how it is played, or like I could maybe even do a battle report video in which I could talk through it as I'm playing. And if I did that, I would use some teams which I painted so that it's easier to tell the positionals apart, because here you can't tell, like this is the orc thrower, but he's got the ball in his hand there, so that's why he's the thrower. You have some blitzers, you'd have some big uns who are some bigger orcs. Like here's the human thrower, the human catcher. So the catcher is like jumping up to catch the ball, but they're all going to have their own special skills and things. So now if you are still learning the game, okay, just leave that there. If you're learning the game, then what you have is these cards here, and these cards give you all the information that they have. So for the orc team, the linemen, they have a movement of 5. That means they can move 5 squares. Strength of 3. So when you're attacking another player, you compare your strength. So if it's a strength 3 versus a strength 3, you roll 1 dice and you have to take whatever the result says. If you're stronger than the other player, then you're rolling 2 dice and you get to pick. But if somebody is helping that other player, so if they are in the square surrounding, so these 2 players are adjacent to this player, so this orc is attacking this human, the orc would roll 2 dice, but then the human player gets to pick which dice they want. Anyway, so yeah, so they have all the different things here. So you see for a human thrower, sure hands means if they try to pick up the ball and fail, then they can re-roll that. And pass, if they make a bad pass, they can re-roll their pass roll. So these cards are going to help you to reference the different things. Like I said, there's a lot to this game, and it's not something I want to go into a full rules explanation for. Like I just wanted to give you a sense of what it looks like, some of the things that are available in the game, so you can just sort of get a sense of what you're getting. But other than that, like I said, doing a whole rules explanation would be a whole video in and of itself. So other people have done it already and have done great jobs with it, so I'll leave it to them. But I just want to give you a sense of how to play Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is a game which has a lot of potential to be doing a lot of good things for just helping kids to learn in different ways in that club environment. Like there's no way I would be saying that you'd be playing this game in the classroom. Well, I say no way, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who's more creative than I am who could think of a way to incorporate Blood Bowl as into their curriculum as part of to help the kids to learn. But I'm not going to make that suggestion or give any ideas of how that might work right now because I can't think of anything. But as I'm saying, if you can get this kind of club going in your classroom, I would suggest this, grade 7 and 8 at the earliest. Definitely high school kids I think would be the ones that would be good for it. It kind of suffers with the name Blood Bowl in terms of trying to sell this to your principal. I know when I've talked to teacher friends about Blood Bowl and things, that sounds very satanic. Yeah, a blood bowl. It's not a bowl of blood. I mean, it's like, think of like the Orange Bowl, those different bowls they have in the States for the football competitions. So it's the Blood Bowl, and it is a game. Violence is very predominant in the game. There is injuries, there is deaths, there's things like that. But so is there in the Call of Duty and the Grand Theft Auto and the games that they're playing online and video games, right? It just is what it is. And so, at least in this way, they're getting a lot more out of it than they would be through playing a video game. A lot of the learning that they're doing through the social learning, the academic learning, just a lot of good things in this game. Plus the ability to, develop those relationships and friendships with the people that they're playing with. And I also think like a teacher who's doing this as part of a club might think of some creative ways to motivate their students even further. How they could, develop other curricular ideas through the play of the game to say things like, well, I will give extra star player points, or I will give extra gold to the player, any of the people in the league who maybe write a backstory for their team, who paint their team, who do extra things, just whatever way you want to inspire and motivate your students to do more, like reading, writing, math. I'm sure you could figure ways to do things around that through the use of this game. Taking things from this game and just extending it out from the game, where it's not even really part of the game anymore, but you could do more with that and really encourage a lot of learning that is related to the game, because you could link it to things within the game, but not really affect the gameplay itself. I think you understand what I mean there. I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but just making those things that stem from the game that will just encourage more learning. And I just think there's a whole wealth of opportunities of things that could happen with that. So if you're new to the channel, then what I'm doing is I'm putting out content on a weekly basis around games like Blood Bowl, where the games with educational value, educational components and things that we can use them in classroom settings, in club settings and things to just help people to learn, whether it's ourselves or students or whomever. I just strongly feel that as a teacher, like I've always said, the games like this have encouraged me to learn, and I just want to share with you my experiences and my learning and what I can do to help you with finding more learning resources and things to help your pedagogy. If this sounds good to you, then please remember to hit the like and subscribe down below, and that little bell icon as well to let you know when the new content's coming out, which, like I said, is on a weekly basis, sometimes even a little bit more. If you would like to see anything else on the channel, if you have any other ideas for games you might like to see, or maybe a Blood Bowl battle report, or maybe some topics of discussion, then please leave me that message in the comment section below. I do love to hear from the viewers. And that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. Until next time, I am Craig Thompson Wood, your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with